Barack Obama spoke directly to his country tonight and to the world. The stakes, as we all know, incredibly high. The U.S. president once again made the case against the Syrian regime, blaming it for using chemical weapons on its own people. He spoke about the latest diplomatic efforts, but insisted a military option is not off the table. Our senior Washington correspondent, Neil MacDonald, leads our coverage tonight. Neil.
Well, it's pretty clear, Peter, that Barack Obama is now losing whatever support he had here for using military force against Syria, which, of course, was Syria's and Russia's stated goal. This morning, the administration was trying to keep up the public pressure.
We're waiting for that proposal, but we're not waiting for long.
Soon after, Obama himself made the rounds on Capitol Hill, where lawmakers are increasingly against authorizing the use of military force. Then, tonight, the president appealed directly to the American public, which is overwhelmingly opposed. He repeated talking points the administration has been using ever since the events of August 21st in a Damascus suburb.
When Assad's government gassed to death over 1,000 people, including hundreds of children. The images from this massacre are sickening. Men, women, children lying in rows, killed by poison gas. Others foaming at the mouth, gasping for breath. A father clutching his dead children, imploring them to get up and walk. We know that Assad's chemical weapons personnel prepared for an attack near an area where they mix sarin gas. They distributed gas masks to their troops. Then they fired rockets from a regime-controlled area into 11 neighborhoods that the regime has been trying to wipe clear of opposition forces. Shortly after those rockets landed, the gas spread, and hospitals filled with the dying and the wounded. We know senior figures in Assad's military machine reviewed the results of the attack, and the regime increased their shelling of the same neighborhoods in the days that followed.
Assad's sudden declaration of willingness to allow destruction of his chemical arsenal went unacknowledged until several minutes into Obama's speech.
Over the last few days, we've seen some encouraging signs, in part because of the credible threat of U.S. military action, as well as constructive talks that I had with President Putin. The Russian government has indicated a willingness to join with the international community in pushing Assad to give up his chemical weapons. The Assad regime has now admitted that it has these weapons, and even said they joined the Chemical Weapons Convention, which prohibits their use. It's too early to tell whether this offer will succeed, and any agreement must verify that the Assad regime keeps its commitments.
Then Obama returned to the gassing of civilians, pleading his case to maintain a credible threat.
I've ordered our military to maintain their current posture, to keep the pressure on Assad, and to be in a position to respond if diplomacy fails. I believe we should act. That's what makes America different. That's what makes us exceptional.
America's most hawkish ally, meanwhile, is taking the lead on a binding UN Security Council resolution that goes much further. France's wording would explicitly condemn the Assad regime for using chemical weapons.
Sanctionner les auteurs.
And it would refer the regime's leadership to the International Criminal Court for prosecution. Clearly, the Russians would not allow that. They want Assad to remain in power, and they say that if chemical weapons were used at all, it was by the rebels, not by the regime. Furthermore, said President Vladimir Putin today, America must renounce any strikes on Syria as a precondition. Russia also says it won't allow a UN resolution backed by any military force. So, if it is actually feasible to collect and destroy Assad's chemical weapons, the trade-off in all this is increasingly clear. In return, Bashar al-Assad would not only get away with gassing his own people, but he would remain in power and in a position to turn the rest of his formidable military arsenal against his own citizens. Obama, in fact, stressed tonight that he does not want to remove Assad by force. Leaving him in place would be an ugly compromise, Peter, but it would also be realpolitik.
Neil MacDonald in Washington tonight. Thanks, Neil.